Hello folks, I'm Ed Overstreet and welcome to the Night Sky Imaging YouTube channel. I am imaging our star now, and I'm doing so live, and I want to go on over and share my screen. First I'm going to show you, let me see if I can't find my two kits that I'm using. The one on top is the Solar Scout, and it has an ASI 224 camera attached, and the one on the bottom is a refractor by Astrotech. It's the 65 EDQ. It's a quad, and with a moonlight focuser, and it has a Quark Chromosphere attached to the focuser. And then the camera is an ASI 174 mono camera. It's a cooled camera. There's no need to cool with these fast AVI files, but I also wanted to see what it would do as a deep space imaging camera, and it doesn't do very well. So it's become my designated solar scope at our solar scope camera. So let's head back to or head over to our sun, and it should be on your screen now. I have it centered on this particular area. It's a sunspot, which gives me a good view of the surface and the space outside of the surface. And then there's quite a bit of activity. There's sunspots here, and here, and here. And this has been developing for several days as it moves across our field of view as the sun rotates. And there's a lot of flaring up and a lot of activity along this kind of an S pattern on the sun, and there's just a lot of activity. So my plans are to set up and take a time lapse. I want to take about 200 AVI files that are about 500 frames long each, and see if I can't get see some of the movement going on in this area, this region right here. Don't know until I try, but the sun has come out, and the covers have come off of the scopes. I plan on doing deep space imaging tonight. I also plan to do it live, and so join me tonight and for some live deep space imaging. I'm going to use both kits to shoot in the region of Orion, from the Orion Nebula to the Horsehead. So come back tonight sometime around 6:30, and that's the plan, clouds allowing. But before we start the time lapse, I was going to take you around the surface of the sun and kind of show you what else is happening or not happening. Something that's kind of unusual. In fact, I'm going to take you over there now. Let's go to the page that gives me a real-time or nearly real-time view. This is 1 minute old, and so let's pull this up. Actually, we're going to have to this is that area right here that I'll be imaging, and I'll do a little video to show you what I'm talking about. This is kind of a time lapse, but if you'll watch this, you can see some of the flaring up that's going on as the sun rotates. But there is a lot of activity all across the surface of the sun, but there isn't too much on the rim going on. Up here in this corner here, there's a little activity, but there's not much else going on. So Let's also try another. Let's see if we can't let's try this one. Might be there we go. This is that area that we're chasing, but we've got some interesting area of you don't see it here, but there's some there was some activity on the rim of the sun, some filaments, and then up here there's a little activity on the rim of the sun. It's not worth time-lapsing, but we'll go take a look at it anyway. And that's just about it. And but it looks more active than it has in a long time, at least on the surface. So let's head back to the live view of our kit, and let's go ahead and move around the sun. So let's start by going in this direction. I may have to do a little focusing. There's a little flaring going up there, and here's a couple of sunspots there. And what I want to do is overexpose this very quickly. And let's bring up our camera controls, and let's raise our gain up. About 200. And see if we can't find those. There they go. This was the flaring that was going on the surface of the sun. These are filaments going up thousands of miles. I could probably focus that in a little better. The scene is ridiculous. It's just terrible. The sun is bouncing all over everywhere, but there's nothing I can do about that. It's a crystal cool, clear sky, but the scene is horrific. Let me take my focuser and move it in a few steps. I think I can get I know this is not going to show up well on YouTube, but on the rim here there is some activity. Let's expose it a little more. Yep. Okay, let's go back down to about 100. Gain of 100 and about 14 on our. Yeah, we'll stop at 18. And we'll continue to move around. Let me bring my exposure down a little bit. Here we go. And whoop. Nice spot here. There's a doozy here. That might be, we'll follow that over the next few days if the skies allow, and because that's going to move from left to right across the face of my field of view. Let's just run up the gain again real quick. See if there's a little bump on the rim, but just not much going on there. What I like to find, and it's a real payday, is when there's a sunspot in a position where there's also activity on the rim, and you can get both in one time lapse. That's a real payday. And we'll come around to where I was. Yeah, what would be great if there was some real rim activity here. We'll take a look, but I just know there isn't any. And we'll move over towards our reference point. As you know, if you've watched me do these before, I like to take these crosshairs, which you'll find up here, and I like to open up just a single crosshair, and it splits my screen in the center, and then I'll find my target. This is for time lapses only, and I'll find my a target like this particular sunspot that I know will likely not go away, and then I'll position the sun in the center of or that sunspot in the center here, and I'm moving the telescope by the wrong way, obviously, by moving these controls. I'm inside my home and the telescope is outside, and I'm connected by Wi-Fi. I'm going to use this one up here. It's at 16 times sidereal, and I've got this set at 4 times sidereal. Now we will use the 4 times. Yeah, we have to come over south. Okay, we're centered. Now, I'm using a program called SharpCap, and already you've been able to see that this hand controller comes up. It's an ASCOM hand controller, and it comes up with the when I connect my devices. And the way I do that is I go to File, SharpCap Settings, and I'll go over to Hardware, and I have a Moonlight focuser, but if you have your focuser drivers installed and you pull this box down, it'll be up here. I also have some Pegasus focusers, but I'll put my Moonlight on there, and so when I connect my camera, then the focuser automatically connects. I don't have a filter wheel outside now, but if I used my filter wheel for, say, deep space, then I would connect it here. And then this is the Celestron telescope driver that connects the telescope, so that when I go up to camera and I connect my 174 camera, it automatically then brings up my drivers for my control of my telescope and my focuser down here, and so I can operate both of them from inside. And here's a camera. I have a camera outside that's pointed to my observatory, and this is you can't hardly see it, but the feathers telescope. It's kind of blurred out by the brightness of the sun and the shadows of the trees behind it, but this is the solar scope with the scout on top, and these are just 2 other pier mounted telescopes that I'll be using tonight. We'll be going back. I'll be running both of those tonight when I go live. But that's that. And now what I want to do, just to show you, I doubt it's focused, but I'm going to bring up the Solar Scout, And I just disconnected the 174 and I brought up the Solar Scout, and I need to go out and focus it. By the way, here are the dust bunnies that are on either the Quark Chromosphere or on the outer layer of protective glass on the ASI camera. This, I don't think this is a sunspot. This is probably dust on the sensor. Whenever you see these little dark defined spots, that is more than likely on your sensor beneath the protective glass. And that's why they're dark and defined. Nothing on the outside element of your telescope is going to cause this. This is going to be between the protective glass and the Quark Chromosphere and any other device you might have, Barlow or a reducer. That's where your dust comes from. It isn't your sensor unless it's real dark like this. And I'll go back to my 174, and this thing right here is a spot, not on the sun but on my sensor. This 2 right here is not a sunspot. It's it's something on my sensor, and if I just watch it when I move the telescope, it doesn't move, it stays there. If it were on the sun, obviously it would move, but we need to go south a little bit and see it's moving. So this is on my sensor. If I cleaned my sensor, I'd get rid of that, but I wouldn't get rid of these. These are dust bunnies, and as I move the sun, you'll see they don't move. I'm getting it to move. Okay, sun's moving, but the dust bunnies aren't, and that's the good way to know that they're there. And so at any rate, let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and set up the time lapse for this, and I'm going to get it started because I have an hour and a half to get these 200 frames. The sun is going to transit in an hour and a half, and I'll probably shut down at that time. So I need to move this scope east a little bit to get it centered. And what I like to do when I'm doing a time lapse is to keep this referenced on the spot, and it kind of helps the alignment process. Once I've taken my 200 frames, it makes it easier for PIP, the software I use, to align. Okay, we're close. Now let's go up to Capture. We're going to click on Start Capture. I'm going to, I want 200 frames. No, I want 700 frames. Make it 500 frames. And I want let's see, how do I want to set this up? I think let's do 200 different AVI files, and they're going to be 500 frames each, and there's going to be a 5-second pause between captures. By the way, if you were going to use SharpCap, which I do not, for deep space imaging, then this is where you'll do all your planning for your sequence. And you can do essentially everything here that you can do in Sequence Generator Pro. It's really terrific software. So let's go back to capture, start capture, sun. We want to go to 500 frames, and we want 200 of those with a break. So let's go ahead and start. And now I'm capturing down here at the rate of 500 frames, and it's now saving that. I got a 5-second break, which gives me a little time to recenter. And oh, I put 5 minutes. Mercy, I don't want to wait 5 minutes. So we're going to go back up to capture. I know better. And start capture. Gracious, I want this to be 05. And now we're going to go back and start. And so we're taking another, down here in the bottom left, imaging at 70 frames per second. We just took 500 frames, and now we have a 5-second delay, and it's going to start taking another 500 frames. So we're really just taking one right after the other now. And I'm going to move it over just a tad, as I've got some buffering going on. I have the wrong hard drive. I need to put the SD external drive on. But we can go just a little bit, and then we need to go up. Okay, it's about ready to start again. I'm going to show you. We'll go out here and we'll take a look at my scroller isn't working. All right, there's my directory. There we go. And we have 2 AVI files that we've gotten so far. Actually, we've got several. It's capturing another. And it's writing the frames to the disk. And then it'll take another. Tell you what I'll do. I'm going to stop this now. And I'm going to take a flat frame and show you how that works. And then I'm going to process one of these AVI files and show you how I get rid of this dust. Then I'm going outside and I'm going to take that hard drive off, and I'm going to put an external SD drive on, so that I don't have this long delay between captures while it buffers into that slower external drive. But at any rate, look how bad the scene is getting now. So what I'm going to do to take a flat frame is I'm going to move the sun into the center. I'm just going to fill the whole. Let's use wrong way. I want to cancel. And like so. Let's go up just a little bit more. All right, and then I'm going to take the focuser, and I'm going to focus. I'm just going to, you can move it either in or out, but I want to defocus this so that all I see is the dust. So I went out 700 frames. I clicked it 7 times. And so what I'm going to do now is change the name up here to flat. And then I'm going to take a quick capture of 500 frames, which it's doing now. I will take another quick capture of 500 frames. I'll get 2 of them. And then I'm going to bring my focus back by bringing it out 7 times. And that should be about where we were. And really not going to worry too much, because I'm not going to take any more pictures until it's even buffering these frames, until I switch hard drives. And so let's go on into Auto Staggered. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open, and I'm going to find that flat frame. And there's one of them. That's all I need. And there it is. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Image Calibration. You don't do anything. Just load it and then put Create a Master Frame. And I'm just going to call this Master Frame, and I want to put it in the root directory here. So I'm going to call this Master Frame, or Master Flat. Save. And it's saving this as a Master Flat. I'm using a free software program called Auto Staggered. Emil does ask for a donation, and I every time I update it, I do that. I send him some beer money. Okay, now that's done. I want to open, not a flat. I want to go over here and open one of my saved. Let's just pick the first one. And there she blows. Normally I would scrub through here, getting one of the sharper frames, but it'll to use as a reference. But I'm going to put click on Surface. I'm going to click on Improved Tracking, Local, and then just Analyze. And it will take it a few seconds to do each of these. Down here at the bottom it says number F, which means I have 500 frames. This is the name of the file. But you notice all this dust is still here, and that dirt spot. So we're going to want to get rid of that. We're going to have to let Auto Staggered run its course. This is a slow laptop. That's one of the disadvantages of going live. If I do a recording, then it's much easier to just to pause it and come back, so it's faster. Now I want to get rid of the dust, so keep your eye here. I'm going to go to Image Calibration, and I'm going to click on Load Master Flat. Then I'm going to go to the directory where the flat is, and well, I didn't put the master flat there. Hang on. Here's the master flat here, and watch all that crud go away. Okay, it's gone. And now I'm going to apply my reference points and place a grid on this. Oh Lord, let's clear that out. Let's try 104 pixels. That's going to work. I'm going to save 50% of the frames, and I'm looking at this quality graph, and this represents all of the frames, and this is kind of the midway point of quality. Everything above it is better than the midway point. These are my best frames towards the end. You know, this is a pitiful scene, but this is pretty typical. This 50% reference is pretty typical for me, even in good scene. But about half of roughly what it's telling me, half the frames are not worth fooling with, and half of them are okay. But I would like to work on the ones that are, this is 25%. All these frames here are 25% of my top frames. So why don't we try 30%? So I'm going to keep out of 500 frames, 30% of them are 150. So let's stack those. And it's getting ready to do just that. But I did want to show you how to take your flat frame by defocusing your images. Then you load the flat and save it as give it a name, master flat. I might call it the Quark flat, because if I'm also taking pictures with the Solar Scout, I'll have the Scout flat to distinguish between the two. That's because of my two kits. I'm going to go ahead and process this. Just about talked myself out of taking this time lapse. I'm working on now an hour before the transit. By the time I finish this and go outside and switch drives, it'll be 11:30. I have an hour. I can't get in 200 frames in an hour. I could get 100, but I couldn't get in 5. Okay, we're done. And so now that we have finished, the image has automatically been saved. I'm going to close AutoStacker, and there's two things I could do. I'm going to bring up RegiStacks just because it's the most popular wavelet adjustment tool for solar imagers on the planet. It is also free, and so I'm going to bring up we're going to find our image, and so let's go down to planetary, and we're going to go into the sun, and you'll notice this is called AS for AutoStacker underscore P30, and that means percentage 30. I could have clicked on 50, 30, 20, and it would have created folders in each one of those different percentage amounts. But in the name of time, I don't want to stretch. Okay, it's brought up my image. Let's show full image, which will, alrighty. Now, all you do in Registacks is make sure that Gaussian has been checked, and it is the default. Linear has been checked, and it is the default. Uncheck automatic and hold wavelet setting, and then just start adjusting these sliders. Now I'm going to start in the middle and take the 3 slider and move it up, and you also want to click on an area of interest because that's where it's going to be applied. It doesn't apply it to the whole area. It only applies it to an area, and you can show the processing area by clicking on this. And what you see when you click on it, let me put it back, bring it back again, is this little area right here. It's a little check. There's one there, and one over here, and one over there. That means this is what's going to be affected. It takes so much computer power that it doesn't do the whole sun, but we'll just move these up. And these just add levels of sharpening, and you can kind of see where it's affecting this but nothing else. Let's add some sharpening. I'm clicking this top arrow, and I'm watching my image while I do this. I don't want to overdo it. And let's also add some noise reduction. I'll raise that up a bit. And then let's just go ahead and do all now. And so I'm clicking do all, and it's going to take care of the whole sun. And zoom in a bit. The seeing is so bad though, it's just not a real good image. You can save your scheme. Let's say you like these settings. Then you can save the scheme and give it a name, and the next time you come back you can load the scheme and it will apply these same settings, so you're not having to do the manipulation each time you bring up an image. Then if you like this, you could go over here and save it. So you save right here. If this was a one-shot color camera, then you could bring up your RGB balance, and you could auto balance this image, and it would put the right color in, but it isn't. You can also change the curves if you want to manipulate the curves, and now keep in mind it just does it on the area of interest. So you can right click, creates an anchor point if you're looking for a contrast curve. But when it comes to working with the sun, I am not a Registacks user. I'm going to close this out, and I don't want to save this. I prefer working with the program. I hope I loaded it on this laptop. Here we go. Not the one. All right, let's go over to File, Open, and let's go down to find my drive. I am not a Windows user. I have to use Windows. And my laptops for sports are, I mean not sports, for astronomy are all Windows, because all of the astronomy software, very little of it is written for Macs. So let's go to our folder where our file is, and I need this file here. Okay, I also want to fit this so I can see it. And it also has a region of interest, but I'm going to go up to Edit and select and Process All, and that should go away, and it does. So what I'm going to do is, first thing I'm going to do is invert this curve. Let me change this dimension here a little bit. And I'm going to put an anchor point there, and I'm going to take it right here and grab it, and I'm going to bring it up to about there. And then I'm going to bring this up some. Okay, now I'm going to move this slider over, move it over some more, and I'm going to come down here to the sigma, where I'm going to apply some unsharp mask, and you can see everything's kind of taking shape. Maybe a tad bit more up here. So this is another program for solar work that works extremely well. Solar, lunar, planetary, certainly not for deep space. What I like about it is if there is any activity on the surface, you can see it. And the reason why is I've inverted this curve, but I didn't invert it to the point that I switched the brightness and the darkness layers. I maintain the same lightness, luminosity layers, but it creates a nice view of the rim, and you can't probably see it, but there's activity on the rim. You just can't really see it. When you apply color in Photoshop or in PixInsight or whatever software program you use to finally finish the image, where it becomes colorized, that's when some of this also comes to life out here. Okay, folks, that's it with IMPPG software. I had clicked on PIP software. This is where I do my time lapses. You do your you add your batch files here, and then you walk them through these options, and I'll show you how to do that on another video. So with that being said, I believe I'm going to bring things to a close today. I think I'm in fact going to stop imaging. I mentioned that I'm going to be imaging tonight, and so you might want to join me. And if you do, I will, let me see here, let me bring up, if I can find them, daggone. Okay, this is Sequence Generator Pro, and this is the target that I have for tonight set up. And it's the Horsehead Nebula NGC 2023, and I'm going to be taking this with a one-shot color camera. And this is going to be another video that I'm going to do. I'm going to show you how to process images taken with a one-shot color camera, how to take them through PixInsight's weighted batch processing script. But I'm going to take 75 15-second images, and I'm going to take 100 60-second images, and I'm going to use HDR composition. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of the things you're going to notice about targets like the Orion Nebula is that there are some stars, huge stars, that are just brilliant in their luminosity. And you can't get the detail if you're exposing for the nebula. So it's all overexposed. So what I'm going to do is underexpose a lot of the same target, and then I'm going to take an exposed image for the nebula, and I'm going to combine the two in a program called HDR composition, and it will blend the two together and maintain the lightness of both the and some of the detail of the brightest areas and some of the detail of the darkest areas, and combine them together. What it does, it increases the dynamic range that your camera's not capable of by taking the darkest and the brightest and combining them so that you can keep the details of both. So I'm going to be taking those images tonight, and I'm going to be using two kits. Let me see if the other one's down here too. And it is. And I'll be using, I'll bring up Sequence Generator Pro. This will be with a mono camera, and my target should come up automatically. Nope, it doesn't. But I'll show you how I'm going to find it. I'm going to go to Tools, Framing in Mosaic Wizard. I'm going to type in M42, and I'm going to fetch it. And it's going to retrieve it off the internet and load it into my field of view. There it is. And then I'm going to take a box and I'm going to draw it around it. This box represents what my camera sees, my camera telescope combination, because I've entered my pixel scale, the size of the sensor, and so it knows exactly what I'm going to see, and it knows the angle of my camera. So this is the framing. So I'm going to click on Create a Sequence. It's going to be called M42. I want to replace the existing target. I don't want to rotate. I've already done that, and so I'm creating the sequence. And there it is, M42. I'm going to have to create a drive to save it to, and I'll do that. This is a one-shot color camera. I'll come down here and activate. I'll take light frames and I'll put on Loom, R. These are my filters, green and blue. And this is for the file naming. L, R, G, and B. And the exposure is going to be, for luminosity, it's going to be 15 seconds. For red, it's going to be 45. For green, it's going to be 45. For blue, it's going to be 45. Not 450. I'm going to take 100 of those, 100 of those, 100 of those, and 100 of those, and I'm going to take them at probably a gain of 139, which is unity gain, and an offset of 11. And then tonight I'll run the sequence. It will slew to the target, it'll center the target, and it will start imaging. I'm going to save this as 112, 22, 21, M42, Orion, underscore, and it's going to be the 70T telescope, so I can distinguish between the other telescope. Well, folks, that's about all I have, and I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. I hope you have some terrific holidays, and I do hope that you consider I'd appreciate if you consider liking and subscribing and dinging the bell, and that way you'll be notified when I do decide to come back and put more content out. And I've been putting a lot of content up lately. I have time to do so during the Christmas break. But guys, we appreciate you. We like you. We love you. We hope you have clear skies, and catch you tonight as we go deep space imaging the Orion Nebula.